Hello and good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Monday morning Call the Midwife sessions. So lovely to have you here. It is a beautiful sunny morning and we are still in school holidays. So I have just dropped the kids off to tennis camp and into the office to make sure that I can get in and answer all these questions for you. I will say I have been a little flooded in the DMs, so apologies if I haven't got back to you. I will do my best to answer as many of those as I can this afternoon. So already we have some wonderful questions coming through, a lot about sleep, feeding, constipation, teething, so many wonderful questions that I look forward to answering for you. But you know that I always love to know who's watching, where you're watching from. Maybe you're pregnant or maybe you've already had your baby. Last week we had a gorgeous mama who was already in the early stages of labor, and I was giving her some tips and tricks about how to manage those contraction pains as they become more intense, which was super cool. She went on to have her baby, which is fabulous news. I have another mum who is I went to Newcastle last week, so I live in Tamworth in New South Wales, and I dropped off some posters and cards to all the obstetricians and a couple of the midwives in the area, and it was so lovely. I was dropping off the cards and one of the girls that was doing our online course is sitting in the waiting room and she said, "Oh, hi Edwina," and it's lovely because I don't get to meet a lot of you face to face, so I love that she did come up and say hello. And she's being induced this morning, so she said she might even be tuning in, which I thought was lovely. So please say hello, let me know where you're watching from, how many weeks pregnant you are, or maybe you have your little newborn there with you now, which is super duper exciting. The questions, as I said this morning, hi Magda. Magda has she's in Adelaide with her three-week-old bubba. Congratulations, Magda. I'm just seeing, no, none of the questions were from you already. So if you have anything you want to ask Magda, please feel free to. Anyone who's new here, we actually teach online childbirth classes and online baby and child first aid classes and have a lot of fun doing that. So it's nice to see so many of the online members popping up here as well. Hello, Brooklyn from BC, Canada, 41 and 2. They're inducing you tomorrow morning. Oh, that's super exciting, Brooklyn. And I imagine freezing over there for you. I think, I can't remember what the temperature was this morning, but it's definitely, we've had a very mild summer so far and it is getting warm again now. So I imagine compared to what you're going to be taking your little bubba home in is very different to what we're doing here. Hello, Shannon, 17 weeks in the Central Coast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, I'm going to get straight into the questions that have already been sent through. If you have a question that you would like me to answer, pop it in here and I will do my best to answer today. As I said, the earlier you put them in, the better. I just go through doing it in order. I will also be, if I don't answer all of the questions that have been DM'd through to me via Instagram this morning, so I did a little Instagram story, I will answer them in stories today because I don't want your questions to go unanswered. That's very frustrating. Danielle is first-time mum, 29 weeks with a little boy from Maryborough, Queensland. Awesome. So good to have you here. Okay, so Nick has asked this morning and keeps saying hello, Aberdeen, New South Wales. But you're practically local, Rowie. Canada, 29 weeks pregnant and problem with hemorrhoid. What do I have to do? And thank you, Manel. I was just talking to a girlfriend about this the other day. I feel like particularly hemorrhoids and incontinence after you have bub, they're just these big things that are actually super duper common, but often not talked about in pregnancy. So I'm glad that that is out there. And I have to say, it's really common. So what happens, you think of all your pelvic floor muscles, and I'll just do some basic anatomy. You've got the opening of your vagina and then the opening of your anus around here. And there's a lot of extra weight. So not only the baby and the placenta and all the fluid, you put on a lot of pressure on that area. So obviously that's a real time that you're going to be more prone to hemorrhoids. So hemorrhoids can be internal, but they can also pop out and be external. And that's when they become really uncomfortable. And with hemorrhoids as well, particularly if you've got a job where you're on your feet a lot, or you're, walking around a lot, that kind of thing, definitely you're more prone to hemorrhoids. Or if you've experienced being constipated, which I know so many women do experience constipation in the early stages of pregnancy, particularly if you're on an iron supplement. So the biggest things to do is try and decrease any constipation or straining. That's the first thing. And to make sure that you know how to sit properly on a toilet when you're opening your bowels. So when I say that, and I think I was showing this last week. So when you're sitting on the toilet, imagine that I'm sitting on the toilet now. Rather than having your feet flat on the floor, have them up on a little stool. So what you want is your knees higher than here. So have your feet up, elevated on. I remember I used to work with a physio who said a few phone books. Phone books don't really exist now, but getting a little stool, like a little toddler stool that they use to stand and go to the toilet, by elevating your feet, and every time you go to the bathroom, your anal sphincter is basically in a little curve like that. So you have to push harder. I can see so many more questions coming through. I will get to them, guys, but this is such a good one. You have to push harder and strain harder to open your bowels. So if you put your feet up, you actually straighten up that sphincter, and you will find it's easier to go to the toilet, but also you don't have to strain as much. So even if you don't have hemorrhoids, it is super important that you do that. And then after you have your baby, make sure that you are practicing like that, because it will be much more comfortable for you as well. So lots and lots of fluid. So heaps of water, heaps of fruit, really trying to make sure that you're not constipated at any stage is going to improve your hemorrhoids. And then getting a topical cream. So going and speaking to your chemist, not only will it help decrease the swelling, but it also takes away that sort of itchy and pain, that irritability. It is unlikely that you would do anything to sort of surgically fix the hemorrhoids until after you've had your baby, after the postpartum period, and once you're fully recovered from the birth. So all of those things will help you. I think that's probably something that I should be adding. I reckon that as well. So we've just started our YouTube channel, which is very exciting. Please go over. I've just popped the link up there. It's also a bit daunting. I'm probably not your regular YouTuber. I'm not some cool young person. So if you can come and follow and subscribe, you will make my day. We just felt like that was another channel to be able to support lots of mums with how-to videos. So you can go and check that out there. I hope that's helpful, Manel. Good question. Nikki has said, again, thank you for all your tips during early labour and active labour last week. So in love with Jensen. Yay, Nikki. So how did that all turn out? Let us know. So Nikki was in the early stages of labour. Did those tips help you? Because we will go through those again for any other mums. So it's so nice for other mums to be able to see this in real time. I obviously think that it's really important to do birth classes and know how to manage your labour and pain, but it's lovely when you also share what a difference that can make to your birth experience. There's the YouTube link. Just click on it and you can go and subscribe. That would be hugely, hugely appreciated. Melissa, baby girl, is 5 days old today. So that is just so cool, Melissa. I'm so excited for you. Have to send me a photo. Maybe you already have sent me a photo. Sorry, as I said, my DMs are a little bit out of control at the moment. Getting onto it today. Shannon, being a first-time mum, the length of wait of appointments in between for scans, is super anxiety driven, especially when you haven't felt movement yet. What's the best way to deal with this? So, Shannon, I'm going to assume you're in the earlier stages of your pregnancy if you're not feeling any movements yet. And you're right, once you start to feel movements, it does make the world of difference to sort of being able to reassure you. So, look, some people say, and purchase Dopplers. My concern with that is I really think that's something that should be left to the health professional. So it is one of those just having to wait until you're able to feel the movements. However, if that is something that's making you feel really anxious at the moment, it's probably really good that we start to address how to manage that anxiety. So I strongly recommend, and I try and do this daily. So I had a lot of postnatal anxiety with my little baby Theo, and I know that daily I still need to be checking in on that. I know that often I overload myself with work and other commitments. So sometimes it is actually just about managing that anxiety generally. So I love the Calm app. I will say that I went to do my little 10-minute meditation this morning. I feel like it makes me a lot clearer, a lot more effective at work. I'm able to give and support to all you beautiful mums, and the app was down. And I was like, that is not in any way calm, helpful, but it's very rare. So Shannon, I'd be looking at something like Headspace or Calm and start practicing some regular meditation and relaxation, because that's going to help you as well, definitely when bub arrives, just to have some strategies to manage the anxiety rather than having that, how can I fix this? It's like, how can I feel better about managing the unknown? Because very much so with pregnancy, birth, and parenting, we lose that sort of sense of control that we probably have in a lot of other areas of our lives. So it's not something that I can fix and say, you can't, you know, like the quick fix is to make sure that you get a Doppler or that you can reassure yourself that bub's moving or heart rate's there. It's actually about managing the anxiety and looking after you first, so that then when the next unknown comes your way, you'll be able to manage that. So that would be my advice there. Rachel, hi, first time mum, 36 weeks, from South Australia, feeling anxious about the pain of giving birth. So Rachel, yes, that's such a common, like, just so you know, you're not on your own. I'm a midwife, I'm a mother of two, and of course that was something that still was stressful and made me feel worried. However, it's like, that's why I teach my classes. That's why we created Birth Beat, the online course, because of the amount of women that I supported in the birth suite that came from a place like, so when they came in, they felt scared, they felt tense, they didn't have tools to make it more, like, less painful, they didn't have tools to make it more enjoyable, their partners didn't know what to do. So that's what I want to do. I want to take you from a place of feeling scared, anxious, worried, by educating you, showing you what to expect, letting you know how to make it a more enjoyable labor, a more enjoyable birth experience. And I'm not saying what your birth will necessarily look like. I don't have a crystal ball. That's unrealistic to say that. But I can guarantee it will be a more enjoyable experience rather than not doing any childbirth education. So please come and have a look at our website, birthbeat.com. It's not too late as well. I get a lot of mums. So Rachel, I know you're 36 weeks and you're first time mum. I get a lot of women who say to me, you know, at 38 or 39 weeks, oh my gosh, I've just been in denial about this baby. I'm now really worried and scared. I need the tools to know how to birth this baby confidently and to look after that baby in the first few weeks. So Rachel, please don't feel anxious. I have got so much support that I can give to you that really will make the world of difference to your experience. And education is power. Education is key. I also, like I say, it's like running a marathon. This is the analogy I give when I'm teaching my course online. Is like, you wouldn't expect to just go and run 42 kilometers. You would train, you would understand what the route looks like, you would know what all your options are. And it's the same with birth. You need to know what your pain relief options are. You need to know what to expect. You need to know what different examinations are going to feel like and look like and sound like. So please do not deny yourself that. Nikki, well done. Tips helped, but I was 7 centimeters dilated. So you were not in early labor, my friend. You were in full-on established labor. Tawny, hello Tawny. It's lovely to have you here. Tawny's part of our online program. 39 weeks tomorrow and booked in for an induction. Fluid is on the lower end, nervous, really want a positive experience. Any tips? Loved your online course. Thank you, Tawny. Have you gone and watched the extra resources in the online course? I do a one-on-one where I do a 45-minute one-on-one consult with a mum who is also preparing for an induction. Just there's heaps of extra information in there about how to manage the induction because it is more intense more quickly, and it's important that you know that and you expect that so that it doesn't come as a shock or a surprise. So for Tawny, everybody, again, a normal gestation is anywhere between 37 to 42 weeks, so that baby will be happy and be ready to come. That is absolutely not an issue. But when you don't go into labor naturally, it can be really intense really quickly. However, inductions have a time and a place, particularly when there's a medical reason that they need to be happening. So go and have a look at that one video, Tawny. That's a little 45-minute video there for you and your partner. The tips, really briefly, just for anyone who doesn't have access to the online program, obviously, are to make sure that you keep moving. after your waters have been broken, if possible, ask your obstetrician or midwife if you can have 4 hours before they start the drip. Again, it can just help gradually build up the oxytocin and help you to start going into labor without needing a lot of the syntocinon, which is the synthetic oxytocin. Keep moving. You can still have a mobile upright labor, but it is more challenging when you're having an induction because there's more gear and more equipment. So really make sure that your partner is well prepared and knows that they need to advocate for you as well, so that you can get up off the bed and keep moving, because it is so less painful if you can move, keep the hot water, keep the heat packs, you know, really just focus on all those tips and tricks. Shannon is 17 weeks and 3 days. Yeah, so Shannon, look, in a few weeks you will start to feel the butterflies and the flushes, but I do think it is also good just to sort of take some time and think, how am I managing this stress? Because then other stresses will come later, definitely in pregnancy. Danny said, do you get pains from movements? If so, is it normal? Look, I will say, particularly as you transition from the first trimester into the second, around that 12-week mark up until the 20s, a lot of women say that they can experience a lot of what feels like sharp, intense pains, and a lot of that can be stretching, so a lot of pelvic and ligament stretching. However, anything that feels intensely painful is definitely something that I would speak to your midwife. I don't want anyone to be feeling like they're suffering in silence at home. Definitely speak to your midwife about that. Potentially, Danny, let me know how pregnant you are as well. I just say, you know, if it is intense and if the pain is persistent and uncomfortable, and particularly if it's intense in nature, always just have a talk to your midwife or your obstetrician. Nicole has said, first time mum, 6-week-old boy, any advice on cluster feeding of an afternoon? I feel like I run out of milk before his bedtime feed. Look, Nicole, yes. So I do a lot of support around this as well, with feeding and sleep and settle and establishing those early routines. So with a 6-week-old baby, and I'll just explain to everybody what a cluster feed is. So that's feeding more frequently over a certain period of time. So when I talk about feeding a baby, I talk about over a 24-hour period. So that's the best way, rather than sort of saying in a 12-hour period or an 8-hour period. And in a 24-hour period, I imagine, Nicole, your little 6-week-old baby boy is having regular, frequent feeds in the evening. So two things are happening here. Their brain is developing at an incredible rate of knots, and towards the end of the day, it's like they've been so stimulated that sucking is very nutritive. So yes, it, you know, like feeds them and gives them everything that they need, but actually the sucking is also like it helps relax them, or it helps lets them, I'm trying to think of the best word to explain this, not in scientific kind of way, but like helps them to go, okay, I'm just processing the huge day that I've had and I'm a bit overwhelmed. And so now I'm going to suck, because that helps calm and soothe me. And I know that it's hugely challenging, particularly if you've got other children, because at that period of the time is often a busy period of the time in the evening. However, again, we've got strategies to help you around that. But also feeling like you're running out of milk, he's probably cluster feeding to help you make more milk. So with breastfeeding, it is supply and demand. When they feed, it helps increase your supply. So like the hard answer is, it will pass. It won't be like this for a long time. However, really try and give in to the cluster feeds. Make sure that you are feeding as much as your bub is demanding, because that will help increase your supply. Really, Nicole, also make sure that you're well hydrated, eating 3 to 5 servings of protein a day, just to really make sure, and as if possible, getting a rest when bub's resting during the day, because that's all going to help with your milk supply as well. All of those things will be hugely helpful. Hi, Edwina, thank you for your tips. Our little girl was born. Oh, how cool. Renee says, hi, Edwina, thank you for your tips. Our little girl was born Saturday morning, 38+2. Way different birth experience than my firstborn. Thank you. Oh, Renee, I am so glad to hear that. Ava June, how adorable. Melissa has said, so Melissa's got a little 5-day-old Bubba, and Melissa, did you end up getting induced or not? What are your thoughts on dummies, soothers? Never thought about buying one, but was suggested yesterday by an ex-midwife friend. Is it a good idea? Look, absolutely. So Melissa, it's a very personal choice. One of my children used a dummy, one didn't. Okay, so I don't have a biased opinion on this. I'll explain a few things that might help you to make an informed choice though. Around dummies, again, what we just talked about with that sucking is that particularly in the early days, with introducing a dummy before breastfeeding is really well established is sometimes when we can misfeed cues. So if the bub is looking around to suck, if you can, it is best that the bub is sucking at the breast because it helps increase your breast milk supply. It helps soothe the baby. I know it's a really demanding thing in the first few days and you're just wanting to get some rest. So it's looking at other ways that you can be getting that rest. Maybe your partner wearing bub and taking bub for a walk so that you can have a sleep. 5 days is early to introduce a dummy. Again, I did it with Polly. There's no right or wrong, but I'm just letting you know the actual facts. I would, if possible, wait until you have established your breastfeeding. So until your breastfeeding feels like that you really feel happy and bub is gaining weight and thriving and sleeping and feeding well, I wouldn't introduce a dummy until then. The other thing with dummies, and again, it's no right or wrong, it's just what works for you, is if bub is using a dummy to go to sleep, when bub is in those early days and those early weeks and can't replace their own dummy, if they rely on that dummy to link their sleeps, so often sleep cycles will be around average 40 minutes, they vary for babies, but it can lead to getting a little bit of a catnapper because you have to get up and put the dummy back in. Bub's not learning how to resettle themselves between those sleep cycles. However, when they get a little bit older, they can put their own dummy back in. So it's just about what are you prepared to be doing? Do you want to be getting up during the evening? And just really making sure that your milk supply is really well established. So 5 days old might be a little bit early. If it's because bub is unsettled, be offering the breast to bub. And I know it can feel like it is just relentless and that baby is always on the breast. That time will pass, I assure you, Melissa, but it can be really challenging. Nikki said, so important to get oxytocin going and hopefully override adrenaline. I did, however, have complications, so might be due to that I felt the pain more. They rushed me to theatre after midwife broke water and we found Jensen had made a poop. Her heart rate dropped by half twice and they were going to put me under general. Oh gosh, I was so upset. Luckily his vitals stabilized and they were able to do a spinal and C-section. Meditate, breathe, water, water, water. You got this, ladies. Thank you, Nikki. That is so great to share. So it sounds like little Jensen went into a bit of fetal distress. What can happen there is bub does a poo inside of the amniotic sac. That poo is called meconium. And the first poo your baby does, if you haven't seen it, I did a post on Instagram about this and showed you a photo of what the meconium poo looks like because it's like thick, greeny black tar. And if bub has felt stressed or been distressed, they'll often do a poo and then when they're born, they can suck that tar in onto their lungs, okay? So we don't want that to happen. So I am so glad that Jensen was able to arrive safely. Not a worry, Tawny, my pleasure. Renee, Ava June only had heat packs for the whole labour. Oh, that's amazing, Renee. And it just does also show how effective movement, heat, and managing your breath can be. Annalisa said, hi Edwina, Oakley is 7 weeks tomorrow. When's the best time to start getting Oakley to start self-settling to go to bed? Annalisa, I really say sort of that 0 to 12 weeks. I wouldn't worry too much about establishing routine and teaching those things. Continue to feed her just Oakley on demand feeding. And we are actually very close to releasing our Sleep and Settle guides, which I'm incredibly excited about because I just feel like that's another area that all my birth beat mums come back to me and say, we love the course, now what? And so I will be putting out an expression of interest for those that are interested in the program. So that will work very well for you, Annalise, timing wise, just to give you some structure around how to start self-settling. I have a very soft approach. You all know that I have a very evidence-based approach. That's the way that I that's the way that I operate. It might not be for everyone, but I'm not personally a fan, and this is where I can speak personally. It's just more, I want something that's soft for the parents, but effective. Nobody wants to have to listen to a crying baby for long amounts of time, but we also want some sleep. Like, getting sleep is so important, not only for your physical, your mental health, your relationship with your partner, but it's also a gift you're giving to your baby. You don't want your baby to be feeling tired all the time. So Annalise, hold on that really at the moment. What you can do though, just in terms of feeding Oakley, is start to establish some good routines around going to sleep. So the wind down routine, and again, I can explain, all of this is in our videos with the sleep, and just making sure that you start to be consistent with those, and if possible, not feeding her to sleep. So if she's having a feed in the evening, you know, she's had a lovely warm bath, you've pulled the blinds, it's nice and warm, nice and quiet, dark, lovely space for her to be sleeping in, but then also putting her into the bassinet or the cot or wherever her safe sleeping space is before she's asleep, so like drowsy but not asleep. Those things are going to help you very, very much. B just said, morning, my baby won't sleep in the day, maybe won't sleep if lucky, and hard to settle, but at night oversleeps fine. Beige, how old is Bub? Feeds 3 to 4 times, dream feeds. Any ideas? Thank you. Hard for me to answer that without knowing how old Bubba is, so just let me know that one. Beige just said, looking forward to the sleep and settle guides, please. I know, it's such an important space. I think that we all need to get more sleep. I know that I'm not my best self without sleep, and that's why I think this is so important. We will be putting some of those videos shortly up onto YouTube as well, so you can come and subscribe, and if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will see when they're first released, which is very exciting. All right, well, I will answer, it's 10:30 already. I will answer, gosh, I can bang on, can't I? You're a patient, lovely bunch of mums. What I will do is I will answer a lot of these questions, in stories today to make sure that they're all answered. All right, team, if I can do anything for you, please keep asking. I love being able to support you. If you are preparing for your best birth, come and check out birthbeat.com, where we teach you exactly how to prepare for your best birth. And for all our mamas who have had their babies, please make sure you're signing up now for our baby and child first aid course. And that's really important that every new parent does that one. So regardless, that's where, I'm always like, oh, if you want to do my birth course, that's up to you. But with first aid, I'm like, every parent needs to know how to resuscitate a baby if their baby's found blue, needs to know what to do if their baby chokes, needs to know if their baby pours hot water on themselves. Like, these are the critical things that parents need to know. So go and check out our birthbeat.com first aid course as well, all online, and you can watch and rewatch as many times as you like. Melissa's just got one more question here. Yes, induced at 38+2. I went in for the balloon the night before, but was ready already, yay, 33 centimeters along. So got to go home for one last night, back in the morning, broke waters at 11:30. Baby girl, Ridley Isabel, born 9:04 p.m. Used movement, massage, heat pack, TENS machine and gas. Was full on. Absolutely, but how amazing are you? And I am so glad that Ridley is here safely. All right, team, I will talk to you all soon. Bye.